If you look at the famous King's Chamber, its walls and its roof are, the ceiling of the King's Chamber are all made with gigantic granite blocks.
The chamber has been empty since recorded history.
For centuries, the Great Pyramid has stood silent, an ancient giant holding its secrets tight.
The Great Pyramid of Giza is probably the most stunning of all these ancient structures.
But recently, something changed. Hidden deep within its massive stone walls, scientists uncovered a mysterious void, nearly 40 meters wide, completely unknown until now.
If you look at this and you think, they made this more than 4,000 years ago, they actually built this.
What could it be? The actual resting place of Pharaoh Khufu? A secret vault that houses his treasures? Or perhaps something even stranger, a forgotten piece of ancient wisdom waiting to be found? Well, this discovery could rewrite what we thought we knew. So let's dig in and uncover what might be one of the biggest secrets ever hidden in plain sight. The Pyramid of Khufu. Age, myths, and scale. Towering above the desert sand, on the west banks of the Nile River, where pharaohs once walked and civilization once thrived, stands the Great Pyramid of Giza. For centuries, this structure has drawn people in with its great height, rich history, and engineering feat. Yet with each passing century, new discoveries are uncovered that make many wonder if one will ever grasp the total mystery of this Egyptian wonder. Initially said to stretch at a height of 481 feet into the sky, the Great Pyramid was dedicated to the Pharaoh Khufu, one of Egypt's most legendary rulers. So great was its ingenuity that its 4 triangular sides align almost perfectly with the cardinal directions, each base side measuring 756 feet long, covering an area of 13 acres. This architectural structure is even more impressive up close. Just imagine standing before the Great Pyramid, its ancient stones bearing the weight of history. Over 2 million massive blocks, each weighing around 2.5 tons, fit together with precision. The sheer scale is definitely breathtaking. Thousands of skilled workers labored for over 20 years to build this monumental tomb for Pharaoh Khufu, their sweat, blood, and determination leaving a great impact on the world.
How they lifted those stones, how they brought them up to that level. I think we're looking, again, at a lost technology.
Yet, beyond its grandeur lies a mystery, a hidden world of passageways and chambers that tells secrets and glimpses into stories of the ancient Egyptians. And buried at the very heart of this structure is the King's Chamber, a room that will forever fascinate historians and enthusiasts alike. Located deep within the pyramid's core, near the top of the Great Pyramid, the King's Chamber is a granite-lined room believed to be the final resting place of Pharaoh Khufu. But what truly makes it fascinating is its precise construction and acoustic properties. But what secret lies within its perfectly lined wall? The King's Chamber is carved from red granite, brought all the way from Aswan, which is about 800 kilometers away. The sheer size of this is quite impressive. The chamber itself measures 10.45 meters by 5.20 meters and is 5.80 meters high. The reason why it was constructed this way is to withstand an enormous amount of pressure from the masonry above. To get to the King's Chamber, one must pass through the Grand Gallery, a corridor that stretches 47 meters long and rises 8.6 meters high. And deep within the chamber lies a red granite sarcophagus, believed by many to be the final resting place of Pharaoh Khufu. However, when archaeologists and explorers finally got the chance to open it, they were surprised to find it empty. The big question, however, is what happened to the pharaoh's remains. And surrounding these big questions are several myth stories and speculations that have been around for years, but never really gotten to the bottom of the truth. Among the several speculations, many assumed that the king's remains had been stolen over the centuries. However, some experts have speculated that there might be more to the story, suggesting that somewhere in the pyramid existed a secret fourth chamber containing Khufu's mummy, while others have proposed that this sarcophagus might be a substitute that was hastily prepared after the original one was damaged. However, there has been no concrete evidence to support this theory, nor does it give answers to the reason why the current one looks unfinished. Interestingly, It is not even clear if the king's chamber was created for a burial in the first place. If it was the first and only time that a burial chamber was placed above the entrance.
Now, Egyptologists will tell you that, they could move heavy blocks because they put them on wet sand and they push them along on wet.
But sadly, with the passage of time and centuries of exposure to the elements, the sarcophagus bears marks of damage. But despite the damage, the pyramid's clever design has held up remarkably well. Take, for instance, the 5 relieving chambers above the king's chambers. These chambers were created to help distribute the weight of the pyramid and protect the space below.
And these chambers are roofed and floored with granite beams that weigh about 70 tons each.
Additionally, the chamber is equipped with 2 narrow shafts that are now believed to serve a more symbolic purpose, acting as more than mere passageways. They could have been carefully positioned to connect with the stars or celestial phenomena that played a significant role in Khufu's journey in the afterlife. But the king's chamber is not the only remarkable discovery found in the Great Pyramid. On the east-west axis of the pyramid lies another chamber that holds as much fascination, and that is the Queen's Chamber. Despite its regal name, this chamber was never intended to be the burial chamber of the Queen. Instead, it's a remarkably crafted space made entirely of beautifully finished limestone blocks with a gabled ceiling. The walls are bare with no inscription, but there is a niche in the east wall about 4.5 meters up from the floor. Some experts believe that a statue of the king or his Ka, or soul, might have stood in the niche, but this is pure speculation. Lenner, an expert in the field of ancient Egyptian civilization, argues that the Queen's chamber would have been sealed off, transforming it into a serdab, a room dedicated to the king's spiritual soul, or Ka. This type of room is found in many pyramids, including the Step Pyramid complex of Djoser. The mystery surrounding the Queen's chamber has created a lot of debate about its original purpose. Since no burial artifacts have been found, people have come up with different theories. Some suggest it was used for rituals related to the pharaoh's rebirth or regeneration. Others think its design and location might reflect ancient Egyptian cosmological beliefs or serve a more mundane purpose, like distributing the pyramid's weight or providing a secure space for something crucial to the deceased king's journey. But just as we begin to think that the secrets of this ancient marvel were now being unlocked, a new discovery was found by archaeologists through the Muon tomography that could rewrite the entire history of this great pyramid. What did they find? And how will its discovery greatly impact the world? To find out, one will need to understand what this technology is and how its creation could help the archaeological world at large. The new Muon Technology. Discovered by chance, the same particles that Carl D. Anderson and Seth Niedermeyer found during a research process at Caltech in 1936 are now being used to uncover the secrets of the Great Pyramid. This discovery began with their study of cosmic radiation, where they detected muons, debris created from collisions of cosmic rays with atoms in the Earth's atmosphere. And to their surprise, they discovered that these muons have unique properties that will help shape scientific research greatly. When passing through a magnetic field, muons curve less sharply than electrons due to their higher mass, which distinguishes them from other particles. Despite being 207 times heavier than an electron, muons are still considered light. But how exactly does this work? And how would it help in unlocking a secret buried in time past? Muon tomography or myography is a technique that uses cosmic ray muons to generate 2- or 3-dimensional images of volumes. By carefully analyzing the information contained in the Coulomb scattering of the muons, scientists can create detailed structure of images, even those made of thick or dense materials. One of the many advantages of the muon tomography is its ability to penetrate more deeper than X-rays. This makes it an ideal tool for studying large and complex structures like the pyramid, where chambers or passageway might be hidden from view. This feat is possible due to the fact that myography tracks the number of muons that pass through the target volume. Take the pyramid, for example. When muons pass through the granite rock of the pyramid, They determine the density of the internal structure that is inaccessible. It is a technique similar in principle to radiography imaging with X-rays, but capable of surveying much larger objects.
It's in the form of muons. Scientists can peer behind the thick limestone walls with technology far more powerful than any X-ray.
It works because muons pass through low-density material more easily than high-density material. As a result, a larger number of muons will travel through the low-density regions of target objects in comparison to higher-density regions. This unique property has led to the development of different techniques for using muons to image objects. Since the 1950s, scientists have been working on muon tomography, and it's taken many forms over the years. Two of the most important techniques are muon transmission radiography, which looks at how many muons make it through an object, and muon scattering tomography, which looks at how muons are deflected by the object's internal structure. Both techniques give us valuable insights into what's inside without having to physically cut or dig into the object. And now, as scientists apply the Muon technology to the Great Pyramid, they will soon realize the big void that has been missing for centuries. The unlikely void. For centuries, even before the use of modern technology, scientists and archaeologists had been fascinated by the Great Pyramid's interior structure. Driven by curiosity, they decided to take on the challenge. Their mission? Simple: to dedicate their time and resources to uncovering the secrets hidden within the pyramid's stones and understanding the ingenuity behind their construction. This led to the creation of the Scan Pyramids mission.
The researchers now say the internal architecture of the pyramid supports a new theory.
An international project designed to scan Egyptian pyramids to detect the presence of an unknown internal void. But after months of study and use of muon tomography, the discovery they found was what they least expected. Located near a chevron-shaped structure visible on the pyramid's north face, they discovered a void, the first ever discovery done after thousands of decades. First identified in 2016, the void was thought to be a corridor-shaped hole. At the time, however, there were scant details about the void, its shape and size, and its general design. Among the few things scientists could state with a measure of certainty was that the void was above the Grand Gallery. The Grand Gallery is the 28-foot-high, imposing passageway that leads to the King's Chamber, and for its astonishing corbelled ceiling, has no equal in internal passages of pyramid tombs. And this new void definitely came as a surprise, and arguably marks the biggest ever discovery yielded by muon radiography, an imaging technique first demonstrated in Giza's pyramids. Although scientists aren't sure why this cavity exists or if it holds anything of value, because it is not easily accessible. After 2 years of study, the team of scientists made the announcement, and they have been able to achieve this with 3 different scanning technologies, all of which help confirm the void's location and size. While the discovery of the void was definitely exciting, not everyone is convinced if it's significant just yet. According to Sébastien Procureur from CEA IRFU, University of Paris-Saclay, the scans didn't just detect random gaps in the pyramid, but rather a significant distinct space. He believes the muon science is sound, but he is not yet convinced the discovery has significance.
This discovery, in my opinion, is the most important discovery on the 21st century.
As he explains, it could be a space that the builders left to protect the very narrow roof of the Grand Gallery from the weight of the pyramid. But then finding out what this void holds doesn't look as easy as it seems. Given the delicate nature of this ancient structure, researchers can no longer rely on invasive methods. Gone are the days when one could blast their way through the pyramid with gunpowder, as Egyptologist Howard Weiss did in the early 1800s. Today, scientists have become more careful. That's why accessing the void in the pyramid is a bit of a challenge. Without a safe and non-invasive way to access it, the secrets locked in this void may never be known. But then, with the help of new updated technology, scientists have been able to make new discoveries in 2023 and 2024. Using the new muon measurements, they've estimated that the void spans a length of about 30 feet. As to the void's height and width, scientists estimate that both are approximately 6.5 feet. The void, according to Scan Pyramid scientists, is shaped like a corridor, almost similar in design to the Grand Gallery. This is the first major internal discovery in the world-famous pyramid since the 19th century. So how exactly did they carry out this life-changing research? It was first observed with nuclear emulsion films installed in the Queen's chamber, and then confirmed with scintillator horoscope instruments set up in the same chamber. It was then finally reconfirmed with a gas detector outside the pyramid. Building on this find, Scan Pyramids researchers made additional measurements with ground-penetrating radar and ultrasonic testing. The detailed measurements allowed the scientists to use an endoscope to take images inside the chamber. The images reveal a corridor with a vaulted ceiling.
For the first time, a look inside, a precise analysis, a real characterization of the North Face corridor.
Presumably one that hasn't been seen by humans since the pyramid was built more than 4,500 years ago. But the main questions remain. What was the main purpose of the void, and how was it constructed? Theories and speculations about the void. Despite this amazing new discovery, many questions are left unanswered. What lies within the space? What purpose did it serve? Or what was one of the many discoveries that are still hidden within the pyramid? Experts are uncertain about its specific shape. Some believe that the void is horizontal, while others argue that it's inclined. Some even speculate that the void is made from more than one successive structure. But yet, could this place hold a more outwardly secret, like the final resting place of Pharaoh Khufu? Among these theories is also one so profound that it might be slightly related to the truth. According to a Cambridge archaeologist, the void may be a construction leftover from the Great Pyramid's original building process. She points out that massive blocks weighing tens of tons form the roof of the chambers above the king's chamber, the central room where Khufu was laid taut, and are precisely aligned with the void. Given its strategic position, the void might have served as an internal ramp or pathway used to move those massive blocks into place. As construction continued, it is believed this ramp could have been left empty or loosely backfilled. Also, the void's location directly above the Grand Gallery might imply its involvement in that corridor's construction. Time will, however, tell whether these or other ideas about the void's purpose pan out. Among the other theories that now exist as to the purpose of the space, some suggest it was a secret burial chamber for the Pharaoh Khufu, who ordered the pyramid to be built. This particular theory is famous because people are eager to latch on to something with an aura of secrecy and a dash of conspiracy. When the pyramids were first opened and explored back in the 19th century, archaeologists uncovered a number of chambers, including one containing a sarcophagus that was thought to contain Khufu himself, but sadly, this sarcophagus was left empty. Now, with the discovery of a hidden space or void in the pyramid,
Back in 2016, a cavity behind the North Face was first discovered. Scientists believed it was horizontal.
many believe that this might be the actual resting place of King Khufu's body. It's possible that Khufu, wanting to protect his body from being stolen or disturbed, might have deliberately chosen a hidden location for his final rest. It's possible that this void is that secret place. Perhaps the void was specifically designed and used as a secret burial chamber. This idea sounds believable because many ancient kings wanted to protect their bodies after death. They believed that their bodies needed to be preserved so they could live well in the afterlife. If King Khufu's body was indeed hidden in the void, it would explain why the sarcophagus in the other room was empty. While this theory often gains currency with the media and general public because of its speculative value, scientists working on the project have been reluctant to give credence to this hypothesis. Another hypothesis is that the Great Pyramid's void was a built-in structural support to lessen the weight on the Grand Gallery.
It doesn't matter how many times you see the Great Pyramid, it's always astounding.
On closer scrutiny, however, this hypothesis seems to be flawed. If anything, the distance between the void and the gallery seems too great to provide any meaningful structural support, casting a sense of deep doubt concerning this hypothesis. Other suggestions include the idea that the void was a normal passage the builders used to move around. According to this theory, the void would have allowed workers to navigate through the pyramid's internal structure, helping them with the placement of massive stone blocks and other construction materials. However, this theory raises a question about why such a passageway would be left unused and unfilled after the construction. Another suggestion is that the void was an ancient anti-seismic device intended to protect the pyramid's internal chamber from earthquakes. Theorists argue that the void could have helped to absorb any seismic shock, reducing the risk of structural damage to the pyramid. Another hypothesis is that the Great Pyramid's void was a built-in structural support.
A new major inner structure has not been found inside the Great Pyramid since the 19th century.
To lessen the weight on the Grand Gallery. On closer scrutiny, however, this hypothesis seems to be flawed. If anything, the distance between the void and the gallery seems too great to provide any meaningful structural support, casting a sense of deep doubt concerning this hypothesis. Another suggestion is that the void was an ancient anti-seismic device intended to protect the pyramid's internal chamber from earthquakes. Theorists argue that the void could have helped to absorb any seismic shock, reducing the risk of structural damage to the pyramid. Conspiracy versus scientific facts. After the Big Void was discovered, some Egyptologists and archaeologists started questioning whether it really exists. One researcher, David Ian Lightbody, wrote a study that challenged the idea of the Big Void. He thought it might be an illusion created by two empty spaces on either side of the Grand Gallery.
Egypt's Great Pyramid of Giza.
The journal Nature reports the 30-meter void deep within the pyramid is situated above its Grand Gallery and has a similar...
Some Egyptologists also doubted the usefulness of certain techniques used to study the pyramid. However, there's no denying that scanning the pyramid using certain techniques did reveal a smaller void. The technology used, called muography, has its limitations and needs to be improved for more accurate results. Despite some Egyptologists' doubts, muography has achieved its purpose so far. Over time, scientists have become more confident about the existence of the Big Void. This is because they've made several improvements to their techniques and tools. As a result, earlier doubts have been put to rest, and most experts now agree that the Big Void is real. For example, after the Big Void discovery was made, wooden boxes containing several emulsion plates, as well as 2 scopes, were installed in the Grand Gallery. By 2019, new data were acquired from the Grand Gallery, which confirmed that the void was not caused by 2 construction space zones flanking the Grand Gallery.
If you look at this and you think, they made this more than 4,000 years ago, they actually built this.
As David Ian Lightbody had previously suggested. Instead, it is now clear that there is an obvious void above the Grand Gallery, and experts are 99.9% sure it exists. There are still many debates going on about the Big Void in the Great Pyramid. One expert, Jean-Pierre Houdin, a French architect who knows the pyramid very well, has an interesting idea. He thinks the Big Void might be another Grand Gallery that helped balance the weight of the pyramid's construction.
Since the discovery of the Big Void, we really haven't heard a great deal more.
According to his model, this void would have been used to counterbalance the weight of the Grand Gallery below it, making it easier to move heavy blocks of stone into place. However, not everyone agrees with Houdin's theory. Some experts believe that the Big Void could be one or more antechambers where Pharaoh Khufu stored valuable objects for his use in the afterlife. Another researcher suggests that the Big Void might be a passage that allowed Khufu to rebury the mummies of his ancestors in a more sacred place. The truth is, nobody really knows what the Big Void is for, but that's what makes it so fascinating. As long as there are unanswered questions, experts and enthusiasts alike can continue to hypothesize and explore the possibilities. Latest research efforts and expert takes. While the debates and theories continue to swirl around the Big Void, recent discoveries are slowly shedding light on its mystery. Archaeologists have been conducting intense research, and new findings are providing valuable insights into the void's shape and size. According to Kunihiro Morishima, a muography expert from Nagoya University and lead author of the 2017 paper, the void's dimensions are quite different from what many had expected. Contrary to the assumption that the void might be a Grand Gallery-like structure, the latest data reveals that it's actually 40 meters long with a somewhat square cross-section, measuring approximately 4 meters wide and 4 meters high. To put this into perspective, the Grand Gallery, which is one of the most impressive features of the pyramid, stands at 8.6 meters tall and 2.06 meters wide. If these new measurements are accurate, the Big Void is a completely different shape. which implies that it might serve a distinct purpose altogether.
The Great Pyramid Big Void is one of the most fascinating archaeological discoveries of the modern era.
These findings are significant, as they challenge previous assumptions and open up new possibilities for understanding the void's function. As researchers continue to analyze the latest scan data, they're gaining a better understanding of the Big Void's boundaries. The northern and southern edges of the void are now clearly visible, providing valuable insights into its structure. However, despite this progress, there's still uncertainty about the void's layout. Specifically, it's unclear whether the Big Void is a single chamber or multiple voids positioned side by side. According to Morishima, it's likely that the void consists of two chambers side by side. However, this hypothesis raises more questions, particularly about access. If the void served an important purpose, such as a burial chamber or royal store, how did the ancient Egyptians access it? One possibility is that the void is linked to the newly discovered North Face corridor, which could mean that it has its own separate set of passages and chambers within the pyramid.
Finally, he reaches the king's chamber, made entirely out of granite.
These might not even connect with the known layout, adding a new layer of complexity to the pyramid's architecture. To truly understand what's inside the void, Morishima suggests that the muon detectors need to be placed in more strategic locations, such as the ascending passageway. However, this would require the pyramid to be closed to the public for an extended period, around 3 months. Another possibility is to place the detectors inside the 4 air shafts of the Great Pyramid, where they could remain undisturbed for a long time. While the general public might be curious about breaking into the void to explore its secrets, experts believe that it's possible to peer into the space non-invasively using advanced technologies like mammography. This way, researchers can learn more about the void without damaging the pyramid or what's inside it. By being careful and using new technology, scientists can discover the secrets of the Big Void while keeping the ancient pyramids safe for people to visit and learn from in the future. Thanks for watching. See you in our next video.